I just wanted to make a video about this as opposed to a post or whatever. I'm not really sure why. But uh, back in November, kind of in the middle of November, I went to be assessed for depression and anxiety. I was having a really difficult time. I was getting just really easily emotionally triggered by things, overwhelmed by things, and I've always been that way a little bit, but it was really coming to a head, and I just was like, okay, look, I'm turning 30 next year. I need to get a handle on this. What's going on? So I went to see a psychologist, and after the interview and then some assessments, some testing, the psychologist diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder, which I was anticipating, and with autism spectrum disorder, which I was anticipating much less. I'm not going to say I was totally blindsided by it, but I am going to say that that's not what I was expecting to hear from our assessment. And so I thought about it, and I thought about, myself over the course of my entire life. I've always been like a weird, shy kid. And I've always been drawn to like specific interests, like really strongly. If you knew me in middle school, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, you probably knew that Green Day was what I ate, slept, breathed, bathed in. It was like the only thing about my personality. Um, and that trend has continued on throughout my life. Just like a fixation on a particular band. It's like so intense, so overwhelming, and I never understood why. I've always struggled to make friends. I've always struggled in social situations, like hard. And that's not to say, of course, that social situations are easy for anybody, because there is always an inherent risk in socializing. But I will say, for me, it felt foreign. Like, how are all these people just like walking up to someone and starting up a conversation? That sounds horrifying. No thanks. I have written some notes because I know I have a tendency to get a little off track here. Okay. I've always I say always, for as long as I can remember, gotten easily overwhelmed and overstimulated in like certain situations. I hate movie theaters. I pretty much can't stand being in them. I don't love going out to restaurants. Places like the fair, forget it. Going shopping during like busy times of the year and in certain places, it's just like there's a lot going on, there's a lot of noise, a lot of people, a lot of sensory input, and it stresses me out. And so, generally speaking, I just prefer to be at home. I've always been a homebody and continue to be a homebody, and all things held constant, I will probably continue to be one into the foreseeable future. It's just home is I literally pay money to live here, so I'm gonna get my money's worth out of it, right? That was stupid. Anyway, so, but and then I think probably also another thing that I've always struggled with that makes sense in terms of both anxiety and also an autism diagnosis, that I've always struggled to express my emotions and to regulate my emotions. They are very intense, and sometimes they're set off by the most seemingly innocuous things, like a slight shift in tone. And I think I should have checked if I had anything in my teeth. Hold on, sorry. Okay, we're good. Pardon that. Slight shifts in tone, shifts in body language, a certain word somebody will say, a certain small shift in my environment. Sometimes it will just like affect me an insane amount, and I couldn't understand why. And I have been told throughout the course of my life, on, I don't want to say numerous occasions, but on a notable amount of occasions, that I'm very sensitive and too sensitive. And yeah, generally speaking, I would say that's the case. I don't love it. And that brings me to kind of segueing into my next point, if you will. I all the things that I just listed, like the intensity of interest, emotional dysregulation, overstimulation, difficulty making friends, etc. I don't love those things about myself. In fact, those things have caused me a lot of distress, brought me a lot of shame, made me embarrassed, and made me feel really weird and disconnected from other people, made me feel very not normal. And a lot of people will be quick to jump in and say, oh, well, define normal. Nobody's normal. Normal is not real. It's like, listen, okay, if you're a person on Earth and you've been around other people on Earth, you know that there are certain things that when you see them, you're like, it's a little weird. It's a little unusual. It's a little abnormal. And that's human nature. But, you know, since I've received my diagnosis, I would say this is a good thing. I've begun to feel compassion for those qualities and those traits in myself. Finally, I've begun to even, I would dare say, accept those things about myself. And yeah, when it comes to socializing and being overstimulated, it's not always really helpful in terms of the human experience. And I can work on them. I can work on strategies to socialize in a way that's authentic, but also, helps me not be isolated. I can, find ways to overcome or handle overstimulation in certain environments. I can, see. There are things I can do to help myself out in the areas where I may struggle. And then there are other ways that I can lean into these qualities about myself and use them as strengths. And again, as I said, receiving an official, on paper, black and white diagnosis with autism has helped me feel more compassionate toward myself. And on the other hand, I think that's really unfortunate because it would have been really helpful for the first 2.5, almost 3 decades of my life to just have compassion for myself for those things. Anyway, regardless of the diagnosis, it almost feels like I'm only allowed to have compassion and only allowed to accept those things about myself because I now have a diagnosis. And that's really kind of sad. Because if there's somebody out there who is really obsessed with a particular topic, or if there's somebody out there who has a hard time making friends, or if there's somebody out there who gets overstimulated, somebody out there who, has a hard time regulating their emotions, it's they should be able to have compassion on themselves compassion for themselves regarding those, things without needing a diagnosis to justify having that compassion. Human nature is such that we like to put labels on things. I don't think that's an inherent flaw in humanity. I think that's just something that we do. And, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, there's going to be labels, whether it's on a group of people or whether it's on objects or whether it's, that's just how the human mind works. And if putting the label of autism on this particular set of characteristics or traits or qualities or symptoms, however you want to word it, is helpful, and it has shed a lot of light on my life and has brought me a lot of clarity. But I still think it's unfortunate that I'm only able to feel a sense of acceptance and even self-love because I got a diagnosis. And I wish this for other people too. I wish they could have, that I could have had that acceptance toward myself independent of one. So that's an update. That's what's been going on. And hopefully this video is almost 10 minutes long, but there was a lot packed in here. So if you watched this, thank you. If not, I probably wouldn't either if it wasn't my video. So thanks.